Welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina. I'm your host, Josh Sprague, proud president of the #1 club in the universe. A special welcome today to all our guests and visiting Rotarians, anyone else Zooming with us from afar. Recently, we've had people from all over the country and the world joining us, so I just want to extend a special welcome to everyone on this call. Before we get started, a few quick reminders for today's call. Mute your audio during the presentation. That would be right now. If you find yourself, your microphone's on, go ahead and shut that off. Rename yourself in the participants list as we do track attendance through the group list you see here. Use the group chat for questions after the speaker has presented and also any comments during the meeting. My co-host, Jennifer Hendrickson, will be leading the chat. Welcome, Jennifer. And just so everyone knows, you're being recorded, so Brad Hepp, careful what you do on film. So last week, we celebrated our annual Chrisanne Manolis Women in Leadership Award program and honored this year's recipient, Kathy Rendelman, Executive Director of the Edina Education Fund, pictured here in red. Kathy's been our partner on several programs, including the recent Edina Rotary Global Scholars Program. Inside our own club structure, women in leadership continue to grow. This Rotary year, 40% of our board positions were occupied by women. Next year, 60% of our board, or 8 out of 14 positions, will be occupied by women, including 4 new directors highlighted here in blue. Director of International Service, Bonnie Ralsted, Director of Social, Susan Johnson, Director of Membership, Bridget Hallstrom, and Officer and future President, Shelley Loberg. We look forward to continuing our club's strong legacy of women in leadership into the future. Speaking of great female leaders, let's take a look at what Director of Public Image, Jennifer Hendrickson, has to say about this year's presidential theme, Rotary Connects the World.
Rotary Connects the World, to me, means that we are able to touch other lives in other places. We work to impact globally and locally. I'm excited to be able to connect in with other clubs through our international conventions because networking across the globe is very powerful, especially when everybody is living by the same service above self, and you know that they're coming forward with their true intentions and they're leading with their heart. And that's been something that I'm working hard and striving to do. So Rotary Connects the World means we're just able to piece that puzzle together one little bit at a time.
Way to go, Jennifer Hendrickson. And you know what? You are leading with your heart. You got nothing to worry about. And now I'd like to thank today's volunteers who helped make this meeting possible. Everyone together, I pledge allegiance
to the
flag
of the United
States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and the 4-way test, the things we think, say, or do. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth,
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much. Okay, before we get started today, I do have some sad news as I have to announce the passing of longtime Edina Rotarian Tom McNellis. Tom joined the club in June of 1985 and was sponsored by Lee Hoytmeiker. Tom's classification was financial advisor, and Tom was a co-funder and chair of local firm McNellis and Asado. Tom gave generously to TRF and was a level 4 donor, and specifically, Tom's generosity to the Polio Plus Fund was legendary and inspired many other donors to that program. In addition to his philanthropy, Tom was president of our club in the 1998-99 Rotary year when the presidential theme was Follow your Rotary dream. We wish Tom's wife and family well as they move through this difficult time. Rare Committee Chair Ann Platt will send out additional information on Tom's funeral services in the near future. And now, in honor of Tom McNellis, I'd like to ask that you join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, Susan Stiles, new member project. Give us your quick report.
Hi, everybody. So last Sunday, a group of us went down to the Centennial Lakes and checked out our garden around our clock. And a lot has come up. And Jen and I went out and purchased a few more plants. And then we had a group that helped us plant the garden out. So you should go down and visit whenever you have a chance. It should grow really nicely, and that's what we did. So thank you to our new member class.
Great idea, Susan, and thanks for keeping this going for the second year. Okay, you've got some information on TRF as well.
Yep, we are winding down. June 30th is our fiscal year end. We're still in the process of accepting donations to our TRF, the Rotary Foundation. You should have received actually a card in the mail from the home office in Chicago. You can utilize that card, or you can contact myself or David Klein on the committee. And remember, if you want a reminder of the different levels of donation, just reach out to me and I'd be more than happy to share that with you. But if we can get just a few more donations in by the end of the year, June 30th, that would be great in meeting our goals for the district as well as our club.
So Susan, right now, I know we've raised over 125 or 115 gross. Where do we need the donations to flow? Is that the annual fund?
Yeah, so right now, if you break it down, we're actually over 125, but more importantly, right now, the district would really like us to bring in 100,000 in the annual fund, and in the annual fund, we have about 30,000 to go. So we're a little short on the annual fund, but we're about where we were last year. So we do expect that those of you that like to donate right at the end of the year, May, June, now's the time to do it. And, you know, we're hoping to see those donations come in. And I think a few of us may be reaching out to you, to some of you members to help us along, just in case you've got questions. Any donation that you make, please make sure, if you don't have it go through me, that it's Club 2112 2112. And if you don't know your member number, you can ask Becky, or better yet, just go on to our club runner. You can find your member number, and that is specifically helpful if you have any matching from your employer and you want to be sure that you want to get that credit from your employer. Just make sure that you have the club number and your member number associated with the donation match from your employer.
Thanks, Susan. We look forward to getting those annual fund donations. Just as a reminder to everyone, that half of that money comes back in 3 years and can be accessed by all clubs in the district for grants. And our club is a very heavy grant writer, so we do leverage those funds, and we appreciate your generosity. Real quick, for those of you who may have missed a meeting or two and want to keep your perfect attendance streak going, we know how important streaks are, right, Hendrickson? You can do your makeups via YouTube. We have a whole channel full of videos, about 40 videos now, all of our recent meetings, and a really important piece that we just posted, which is right here. This is the 2020 Memorial Program we sent out via email to you with MC and former Edina Rotary Club member, Brigadier General Denny Schulstead. Check out that short version of the program there as well. I think you'll enjoy it. And now, one more reminder, please join our text notification service. We'll be making use of this in the next Rotary year as soon as we have a critical mass of signups. All you need to do is text Rotary to 22452 to get weekly notifications of meetings and events. And now it's my pleasure to introduce a new member, Andrea Farnkrug, who's going to give us her classification talk. Take it away.
Thanks, Josh. I'm hoping everyone can hear me. I'm not always great with this technology. As Josh said, I'm Andrea Farnkrug. I have been a member about a month and a half now after attending several meetings this last winter. I'm from Minnesota originally, but interestingly, I was actually born on the Fort Knox Army base in Kentucky, and that really only became an issue when I was trying to get my first passport because it is a secure facility. And I was trying to do that long before any electronic means. It made it a challenge, but we worked it out. My parents still live in Hutchinson. That's where I grew up. Hutchinson is about an hour west of here. My father was a engineer at 3M, and my mom owned her own accounting business. So I come from a line of analytical thinkers. I have one brother, younger. He lives in Chicago, and he also went into engineering. He's a hydrology engineer. So we have great, interesting conversations around the Christmas tables. My career actually took more of a winding path. I received my mass communications degree from St. Cloud State and went into advertising and public relations. Worked at an advertising agency for 2 years. And for those of you that have not worked at an ad agency, I would say Mad Men is not that far off, at least back in the day. I think it's a little different now, but it was really interesting. I went from there to the medical device world, basically a 180, and I worked for Medtronic in a change engineering role for about 2 years, and then went over to Guidant, which was bought out by Boston Scientific. And in my career at Boston Sci, I actually moved into medical education, and I ran physician and allied health professional training programs all over the country. And it was that was a really fun few years. Lots of learning around the technical side of things. Heart disease has always been a passion of mine. We have a family history of it. So it was just really neat. But about the same time, I was really getting involved with the Junior League and a couple other organizations. And I was looking for a way to meld my passion around philanthropy and giving back with my career. And a job opening came up at the University of Minnesota Foundation in their heart-lung area. And so I went over there and worked as a fundraiser for that pillar, it was called. And that would be both for the hospital and for research. And that just, it was just great. I loved the foundation. But a few years after I landed there, the College of Veterinary Medicine had an opening for a fundraiser for the small animal hospital. And because dogs are one of my passions as well, and you were able to bring your dogs to work, that seemed like a really good fit. So I jumped over there and was there for a little over 8 years, raising money for the small animal hospital, the VMC, and also for their comparative medicine program, which is how animal and human life overlaps in terms of research and treatments and things like that. And it's just a fascinating area, and I just loved it. Through that, I met a researcher who was working on some cancer research and fundraised for their project, and that's how I ended up where I am today, which is a biotechnology startup company called Half Moon Bay Biotechnology. We are focused on canine cancer, specifically hemangiosarcoma and lymphoma. Mangio is one of the deadliest cancers for dogs, and it tends to kill with very little warning. So it's definitely a heartbreaking scenario, and the research has just been wonderful. And so I was brought on as managing partner to help with their business fundraising. So still fundraising, but in more of the VC role. And so I've been there a little over a year. In my spare time, I still work with individuals and family foundations, along with some organizations with their philanthropy. The individuals and the family foundations primarily around how best to give away their money, because it can actually get really stressful to try and do that. And it's just something that I really enjoy, so I've kept it up. I am married to Roger Farnkrug. He is a PGA teaching professional. He works over at Braemar in Edina. And for those of you that golf with your spouses, you know how it can get out on the course sometimes. So just imagine that when your spouse is a nationally recognized teaching pro, and you are his golf partner. It mostly goes smoothly, but I don't really like to practice as much, so sometimes there's a little tension. We have 2 dogs, Jack and Jesse. Jack is a German short-hair pointer. He was a blood donor dog at the U that we fostered and then adopted, and Jesse is a chocolate lab. We love them. We are season ticket holders for the Twins, so we very much miss our baseball right now. And we love to travel, and we're looking forward to all of that coming back. Growing up with such a strong background in volunteering, I was really excited to keep that going forward now that the junior league thing has become more of a sustaining thing. And just really enjoyed meeting those of you that I've met already and how welcoming everybody has been, and looking forward to being even more involved in the future when we can get back together in person.
Welcome to the club, and those are some great pictures. It makes me miss Paris right now. Thanks for your presentation. Michael Hines, Classification Talk.
Hi, Josh. Thanks so much. I've been on a few calls now. I joined the Rotary about 2 months ago now, so it's been definitely an unusual experience. And you know, as Andrew was saying, I'm looking forward to getting back to meeting everyone. So I grew up, I was actually born in Silver Bay, Minnesota, which is I was born in St. Paul, but I was adopted, and I grew up in Silver Bay, Minnesota, which is up on the North Shore of Lake Superior. And my father worked for a reserve mining company. He was there for 30 years and retired in the purchasing department. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She raised myself and my sister, who's older than me. My dad still lives up there in the assisted living facility. My mom did pass away 4 years ago, so we try to get up there whenever we can. Although since the last couple of months, it's been kind of lonely for him not to have visitors. You know, through high school, I played sports, football, baseball, hockey, softball, golf, all those things. So when the high school hockey tournament comes around, even though I live in the cities, I still root for outstate. You can't take that away from, you know. I also, you know, I was like also a band geek. So I was in concert and jazz bands playing saxophone. I've been playing piano since I've been in first grade. I then attended UMD as a music major, and I was looking at either education or theory composition. However, the rock star bug bit me, so I didn't actually get my degree. And I ended up attending, you know, being in several bands. I went to a recording engineering school for a short time. I lived in Nashville for about 6 months, but then ended up in the mid-90s moving to the Minneapolis area, where I was in a couple different kind of bands and trying to make that, you know, go more for me. During that time, I worked in various jobs, everything from, I worked at Schmidt Music for a while. I actually made phone calls for the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. I worked at Prudential Insurance and even did sales at a staffing company. But during one of those places, that's where I met my now wife, Jeannie. And so several years after we were married, she ended up starting our current business that we have right now, which is we do recruiting in the medical device industry. And it's just the two of us. And so we've been doing that together now for 18 years. So, you know, we kind of joke about how we're together all the time, because for the last 18 years, it's just been the two of us doing that. Career-wise, we started in 2011 a business called Christmas Panache, where we do some Christmas decorating. We do the tree for the 50th in France Business Association. We've done that for the last 7 years now, I believe. And that's been a lot of fun. So that's definitely more of a smaller, you know, part-time, you know, September through November type of business. But our main goal is our company Petros, where we do recruiting in the medical device industry. In regards to hobbies, there's one of them you can see now where some friends of mine got me into winter camping many, many years ago. And so this was our last trip a few years ago. So I love doing that. I had a friend of mine say there's no such thing as winter camping. It's actually somebody screwed up and you got lost, and it's just pure survival. But it's fun, and I kind of miss, you know, I love going up to the North Shore as much as I can because I just love it up there. The other picture you saw, my wife and I, that we, you know, one of our hobbies is we like to go hiking if we can. You know, I still try to, you know, get out and play some golf, play some hockey. try to do some physical things. We also love going on different vacations. Like last year, we took a trip with 3 other families to the Black Hills in South Dakota, and that was a lot of fun. Explored around there. We've taken just trips on the spur of a moment with some friends down to Tulsa, Oklahoma. A couple weekends ago, we went with some friends to, or last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, we went with some friends to Madison. So we like just exploring that. And what else? That's probably it. So thank you again for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in person.
Mike, glad to have you as a member, and thanks for your presentation. Appreciate it. And now it's time for today's program. It's my honor and privilege to introduce today's speaker, Shu Zhu, Technology Portfolio Manager for the Office of Technology Commercialization at the University of Minnesota. With a passion for maximizing the public benefits of university research, Shu utilizes his versatile skill sets in science, business, and patenting to formulate and execute commercial strategies and move early stage technologies from the bench to the marketplace. Before joining the University of Minnesota, Shu worked in product development in the biomedical industry at Abbott Laboratories. Shu has 7 years of research experience in a variety of disciplines, including biosensors, diagnostics, materials, and renewable energy. Shu is very involved in the Twin Cities STEM community and serves on the board for the Minnesota Academy of Science, which promotes K-12 STEM education and hosts the Minnesota Science Fair. Shu also volunteers for chemistry and library at American Chemical Society, which demonstrates science experiments to kids in different local libraries. Shu is a registered U.S. patent agent and holds a PhD in chemistry and an MBA, both from the University of Minnesota, rah-rah, and a BS in chemistry from Beijing Normal University. Shu and I were connected. We had a vocational day set for the Discovery Nexus Center at the University of Minnesota, which we had to cancel because of COVID. And so Shu generously volunteered to join us on this call and present about the Office of Technology Commercialization. So with that being said, it's my honor and privilege to introduce today's speaker, Shu Zhu. Take it away.
Yeah, hi, can you see my screen on my PowerPoint slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Josh, for the opportunity to present. I work at Technology Commercialization at the University of Minnesota. And as a Edina resident, so I'm very happy and honored to present at this Edina Rotary Club. So so we work at the University of Minnesota with the researchers and faculties to help them commercialize their inventions. So University of Minnesota has a lot of research activity going on. We have over 13,000 researchers, faculty, 70 plus in labs and facilities, 300 plus center institutions. And we spend about almost $1 billion in research and scientific discoveries. So with all those research activities, some of the research can generate some inventions or patent or intellectual properties that have great commercial potential. That's when our office will come in to help those faculty to move their invention and IP from the bench work to the marketplace. So the mission for our office is to commercialize innovation technologies developed by researchers. This is the general process about how we conduct the research technology transfer process at university. So when faculty, students, and staff develop new inventions, they will disclose those inventions to our office. We will evaluate the inventions based on the commercial potential and patentability. And if we think they are valuable asset, we will file a patent application or copyright to protect those assets. So it depends on the nature of the invention. We have different mechanisms to protect them, like patent, copyright, or trademarks. So once we have this asset, we license those IP to the companies. It's either like a big company like Fortune 500, or the startup that would those would depend on the nature of the technology. They might be suitable for licensing to big companies, or they are platform technology, disruptive technologies have great market potential. So we tend to fund startup based on those type of technologies. So then the company have the asset, they will further develop this technology into a commercial product to consumers and sell them. So once the technology and sale generates revenue, the money will come back to the university and be distributed to the inventors. So before I go to details about tech transfer activities, I want to give everyone a brief history about why our office existed at first place. So before 1980, there were a lot of restrictions on the licensing and ownership of inventions, especially patents for universities. So all the inventions belong to the federal government if the research at university was funded by federal government. So at that time, there were very little incentive for the university and researchers to commercialize the inventions because they would get less reward if the commercialization was successful. So in 1980s, there was a bipartisan act sponsored by two senators, the Burt Bai from Indiana and Bob Dole from Kansas. They have this act which effectively gave the ownership of the patent to the universities and researchers, which meant if the university successfully commercialized those inventions, the majority of the reward will come back to the university and the researchers or inventors. So that will give the university incentive to put a lot of resources and effort into commercializing inventions and move those inventions outside university. And this is a plot I got from the study on tech transfer in the United States. The blue line is a normalized GDP growth in the United States, and red line is a normalized academic industry licensing activities. And you can see the tech transfer has increased. The tech transfer activity increased much faster than the GDP from 1996 to 2013, and now the tech transfer act contributed almost $1 trillion to US GDP every year. So with all the activity going on at university, I just give you some statistics about the University of Minnesota tech transfer results. This is from fiscal year 2019. We received about almost 400 disclosures. We file about 40 to 50% of patent applications based on those inventions, and executed about 200 licenses. And we also funded a record number high on 19 startups last year. And all the inventions generate about $20 million gross revenue for the university. And those money have been used to support the innovation, equipment purchase, scholarship for students, and income distributed to universities and inventors. So this has created really healthy cycle for research and commercialization. For the next couple of slides, I want to show you some exciting technologies outside the university that has come out of the University of Minnesota. The first one I want to show you is we have a lot of research regarding COVID-19 going on campus. The last time I checked, they're having about 140 research projects addressing different aspects of COVID-19 at the university. This one probably has got a lot of press. It's called CoVentor. It's a simplified ventilator system for COVID-19 patients. As you know, there is having a shortage of ventilators for those patients. And University of Minnesota Medical Device Center have been leading this project. It's just amazing. They just took 30 days from toolbox in the prototype in the lab to FDA approval. And FDA approval is a really long and strenuous process, and 30 days was just a miracle. And also we have been working with some commercial partners like Medtronic, Boston Scientific, as well as some local other local smaller medical device manufacturers to make the box and ventilators and distribute it to the hospitals that in urgent need of those devices. And I mentioned our office is more like venture arm for the University of Minnesota. But generating revenue is not the only mission for our office or university. We all more likely want to benefit the public. As this particular design, we don't really take licensing money out of it. We just want to move this technology as soon as possible to the hospitals and bedside for the patients. So we actually open sourced this design. So anybody out there, if you have the right facility, you can manufacture this design and get some open source license with free of charge from the University of Minnesota, so we can benefit the healthcare workers and patients. And we have a lot of other going on as well. If you remember the serological testing, antibody testing from university and Mayo, and one of the critical components of that diagnostic testing is a protein that was invented by a faculty from me at veterinary medicine at the University of Minnesota. And we have a lot of other things going on, like drugs for COVID-19 patients and vaccines. And also the university has a long and successful apple breeding program, which has produced the Honeycrisp Sweet Tango apples. So we protect our apples through patents, trademarks, and plant variety protection. And many of you probably have seen last year during State Fair, it's a new apple that was called First Kiss, which was an early ripening species breed of the Honeycrisp. And it kind of enjoyed very get pretty popular last year. Another mention out of Minnesota here is something we can't miss because it's probably one of the largest revenue generator for University of Minnesota. It was invented by Bob Vance, a faculty at medicinal chemistry. This is one component for Zyogen, the HIV therapeutic drug. It's just one patent, and we licensed to GSK, and it brought about $600 million to the University of Minnesota. But it's like one of kind in like 28 years. So it's we can't really rely on it, but it's just something blockbuster for the university for a long time. Another interesting one is the algorithm. So we also patent some algorithms. So if you have been using Photoshop, so this algorithm quickly changes color or the image properties in real time. And we also license to Adobe. So besides patent or a lot of patents, like we patent office, we also commercialize copyright. And this is a very interesting questionnaire for heart failure patients. This just one page and 20 questions. It brought about $150,000 to the university every year. And so this questionnaire is used to evaluate how the treatment affects heart failure patients' quality of life. So it has been used for both clinical treatment by the clinicians and the FDA drug approval process for pharmaceutical companies. And this is the first questionnaire that has been approved by FDA and has become a golden standard by everyone in the field. And I'm sure the researcher has spent millions of dollars validating this questionnaire, but copyright is more like a carefree asset for the university. Unlike patent, which you have to maintain the patent, pay the fees, questionnaire or the copyright probably don't need a lot of maintenance, but still bring a sizable revenue back to university. And we also copyright a lot of other assets like software. And also I'll mention a little bit later in my slides. So as you've seen, we have 4 main types of intellectual property. Patents is one of them. We also have trademarks, the brands, the trade names to recognize the business quality or reputation, the copyright for example, the photographs, software, databases. And trade secret is another important part for business. Like a business can choose to keep their invention secret. And unlike patent, because you have to disclose everything to the public if you are going to get a patent, and that will protect you for 20 years. However, if you decide nobody can actually replicate or reverse engineer your inventions, you can keep it secret. A good example is the Coke formula from Coca-Cola. 100 years ago, they invented the Coke formula. Even the best chemists now cannot synthesize the Coke formula. And if they got a patent in the first place, it could only protect them for 20 years. And they lost the patent advantage right away after 20 years. But now, because it has been a trade secret, they have enjoyed the benefit. Nobody can replicating it for over 100 years. But I have to point out, because the university here, we don't do trade secret very much. I mean, basically we don't usually, because a lot of research at the university are funded by federal government, state, as well as some foundation. They have some publication requirement. So we basically cannot keep a lot of our things secret. So there are many roles for researchers commercialization. If they want some minimum involvement, they could be a contributor, they could be inventor, and we license the patent to companies. And some faculty actually want more deeply involved in commercialization. They could become a scientific advisor for a startup, and they could become a management in a startup like chief scientific officer. More extremely, they could become a CEO of the company. And we have faculty actually left the tenured position at the university to lead the CEO of startup company they founded at the university. So one important part of our office is venture center. The venture center help because some technology are disruptive and platform technology. So we would rather go the startup path because at the certain point, the big companies want to take up some technology that have been de-risked for a lot of different reasons. Then startup, we can raise some money and get some small business fund from federal government to further develop it to a stage where a big company might take it up. So at the Venture Center, we have launched over 160 startups. And in total, the startup have raised about $400 million. And startup is a very risky business, and a lot failed after a couple of years. But for our startup, 78% of our startup are still in business and doing really well. This is a general overview about the recent University of Minnesota startups. A couple of things I will point out is the Bmogen. The Bmogen is a biotech company. It was just recently acquired by Biotechny, a biotech technology company that is based in Twin Cities. And the Catalyst is a gene editing agriculture product company, also based on it went IPO in 2017. And Flipgrid is an education software company. So it's a social video sharing platform, very similar to Snapchat, but it's for different purpose, like for educational purpose. And it was sold to Microsoft last year. So actually in this coronavirus pandemic, a lot of kids have to stay home and take lessons online. And Flipgrid has been used by a lot of kids and teachers for homeschooling and home learning. Another less well-known startup from University of Minnesota is it's called Net Perception. So the company was based on the recommender system. You know, the recommender system, everybody probably now have a lot of streaming services at home. This is recommender systems used by the users, because when you watch your shows, they will analyze your preference and recommend shows you might like. And so this company net perception grew dramatically during a dot-com bubble. But they IPO'd in 1999. However, because the dot-com bubble exploded and the company lost majority of the customers and kind of eventually filed bankruptcy, and they dissolved the company and distributed the rest of the company to investors. However, I would say, even though the algorithm has been evolving over the years, but the core part is still used by a lot of companies like like Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu Plus. So this is how we manage the university startups. We have a pipeline to track the progress of each startup, to make sure each startup has the right resources and have right timeline for it to be launched, and have different, like you can see, the size of circles represents the market size, and the shade represents we estimate the estimation of the timeline to revenue, and also some line and triangle inside the circle. It represents like we need to find the business advisor and or CEO management for startup. So we review this pipeline and discuss it in the meetings every month, and trying to move those startups out of university campus. So I mentioned the Twin Cities very important for all those our commercialization activities. Especially like we have a venture center business advisor group, and so the advisors participate the bi-monthly meetings. So we have like 40 to 50 advisors on campus. The faculty inventors, they would present their inventions to the group of business people from Twin City metro area, and they would give feedback to faculty's technology. And it's not uncommon that some of those business advisors might take up some technologies to further commercialize it, or they want to lead as a startup CEO for startup. And they will, this advisory group will also have fund entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs for startups. And they also make connections with other key stakeholders and industry experts. Of course, they give feedback like technical market advice and serve as advisor, mentors, and investors for the startup. And like I mentioned, one company about Emogen, which was sold to Biotechne last year. It was actually during presentation, one of the business advisors saw it was a great opportunity, so they decided to join this company as a CEO, and eventually had a successful inventor for this startup. So
we got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's my last slide. Yes, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to present here. Thank Josh for inviting me here, and I'm happy to take any questions.
We got a couple questions. Everyone out there, please post your question in the group chat. Wooge, past President Wooge asks, the University of Minnesota Law School has a clinic called Intellectual Property and Entrepreneurship. Are you working with this clinic?
I'm aware of this clinic, but we have not directly worked with them. I think they are working with some. I think the clinic actually is some kind of internship for some law school students to get some patents, applications, and just get experiences. But we did some like some connections with law school, but but I have not directly involved with that clinic. And another thing about it, so University of Minnesota Law School, they have 2 programs. One is the JD, one is Intellectual Property Master Program. And both programs, actually, we have a couple of interns in our office that are from those 2 programs. But that's kind of interesting because I want my friends, one of my coworkers who used to work at Wisconsin, they do have clinic, and that clinic actually work with some faculties to do some patent drafting. But for our office, we hired outsourced our patent application to law firms outside the University of Minnesota. So it's a little bit challenging for us because we want to file very robust patent application. So sometimes we say, some students might draft patent applications, but they might be not as robust as the appearance attorney. So we are a little bit hesitant to just hand our inventions to a student to draft. So that's a concern. But we do have interns from the law school at the University of Minnesota.
Thank you. And Woosh also wants to know if you could share a link to your PowerPoint in the group chat.
Link, sure. It's not, I'm in the cloud, but I can send to Josh my PowerPoint after this, and Josh distribute to the members if they're interested.
I'll get it out. I know where to find Woosh. She's walking the street in front of my house all the time. Hannah-Laura asks, what COVID testing or vaccines are being developed at the University of Minnesota right now?
Sure. I cannot give you details because all the information confidential before we file patent application. But it's an interesting mechanism for vaccines. Now we have some in vitro cell data, but we're still waiting to get more animal testing data before we can do some public press or something like that. But yes, it's still in the lab scale and lab testing. So we have not get more. We're still waiting to get more animal testing data.
Is it testing for antibodies or testing for the virus?
Sorry. You're talking about the serological testing, the antibody testing, diagnostic testing.
Yeah, is it antibody testing like IgG, IgM? Or is it a viral test?
No, it's not a viral test.
The RNA.
Yeah, the diagnostic testing that developed at the university and also in collaboration with Mayo are antibody-based testing, not RNA virus-based.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Zoo. We need to get pilot test kits to our Rotary Club as soon as possible. So put us on top of the list. Hannah-Laura's question actually rolls into mind. If you go back to that pipeline slide you had, I'm amazed at the diversity of industries that we have startups in. I mean, it's a great sign for our diverse Minnesota economy. And I would like to get your opinion on what's the outlook. You know, this is a tough economic time. What's the outlook? Are we well positioned to flourish because we will have all these new inventions coming to market, or will the capital and the venture capital dry up and we won't be able to get them all the way there? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. That's really good point that the diversity of technologies. I mean, people probably know University of Minnesota Twin City are a hub for like Silicon Valley for medical devices, but we have a lot of medical device technology, but we have more than medical devices. Like, and you see here from food, pharmaceutical, medical device, software, education, like even some board games technologies. And as regarding your question, that's a really good question. The venture for healthcare and especially COVID-19 diagnostics, some test-related ones, they're having a lot of money floating around. And that's really good. But however, for some of the technologies, it depends on the readiness technology or startups. If they're ready, if they have demonstrated, they have prototyping, they have market, they have done a lot of business case about technology, the venture firms that still want to invest in those things. But especially for some technologies like semiconductor, we have semiconductor technologies. It might be delayed because some money actually drained up, and they might have a higher standard for those type of technologies moving forward. There's some delays, but I would say, especially when because there's so many uncertainties ahead of us, nobody gonna know what's gonna be like in the fall or next year. So it's hard to say at this point how that will impact our venture. But I would say activities in University of Minnesota have not slowed down. We are just moving forward. Actually, the labs have been opening, and we have startups that's going on at here. We still have venture discussion going on. So it's gonna be for some technologies gonna be a hurdle. They have the higher hurdle in the next year, but in general, we are still pretty optimistic.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today here. Mark Stagerberg, do you have something to share with our speaker? Are you out there? Mark Stagerberg? Okay. Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change. From literacy and peace to water and health, we are always working to better our world, and we stay committed to the end. Shu, in honor of your presentation today, we will make a donation to Rotary's official disaster relief partner, Shelter Box, which provides emergency shelter to families devastated by natural disaster and conflict around the world, which you see here. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today, Shu.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We've got a busy calendar coming up, everybody. We've got our Rotary Happy Hour on June 3rd. That's going to be featuring special guest Mayor Jim Hovland. Next week, we've got Stevie Ray from Stevie Ray's Improv via Zoom. Following week, Rand Park from the Carlson School of Management. Week after that, John Kaufman, our friend from the Peninsula Sunrise Club in California and founder of H2 Open Doors, who will be joining us via Zoom and talking about his work with the SunSpring water filtration system you see here. And also on that call will be our friends, Dr. Menendez and Sofia Posadas, and hopefully the Rotary Club of Escuintla president, Rolando Morales. So don't miss that one. And John will actually be in town for those of you that might want to connect with him. Then on June 18th, we've got our Wines of Summer virtual wine tasting. And then the week after that, guess what? It's our transition meeting, and we hand the reins over to our president-elect, Sam Thompson. We've got some special meeting surprises happening that day, and we're going to ask everyone out there that same day after the Zoom meeting from 1:30 to 3 p.m. to drive by my house in Edina and honk or pull into the driveway and give Sam your thumbs up for next year. So that drive-up parade will be that same Thursday, June 25th. Today's closing quote comes from Rob Kalin, founder of handmade online and vintage marketplace Etsy, which launched in 2005. A high school dropout, Kalin attended numerous universities before he finally graduated from NYU with a degree in classic education. Post-graduation, Kalin had dreams of becoming a furniture designer, and he searched everywhere on the internet for a place to sell his stuff. His search led him down numerous dead ends with no results for an online marketplace. So he created his own. Kalin used $500,000 in seed money to create the Etsy platform, which is now worth $9.2 billion. Kalin said, "The last 10% it takes to launch something takes as much energy as the first 90%. Shu, thank you for your presentation again and for all that you do and your organization does to help our local entrepreneurs get through that last 10%.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm
As
actually.
you go about your week, remember that together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves, as Rotary pursues its mission to connect the world in meaningful ways. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you next week. Meeting adjourned.
Stay well, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.